Court will address the historic question of presidential immunity. Without presidential immunity, the president cannot function, as his political opponents will blackmail and extort him with the threat of wrongful persecution at every turn, including when he leaves office. They're going to say, you don't give us this, whether it's for taxes or military or anything, we're going to go get you because we're allowed to now because you wouldn't have immunity. We're going to get you after you leave office. It literally would be blackmail. We look forward to presenting our case in the Supreme Court. It's going to be one of the most important cases because without presidential immunity, you have nothing. You don't have a president. You have just a ceremonial position, and we can't have that. A president has to be strong, has to be powerful, has to make good decisions. But if you don't have presidential immunity, if you don't have a strong form of immunity, you're not going to have anything. You're not going to have a president that can function. It's not going to work. It would never work. Everybody assumes that a president has immunity. A president has to have immunity, or he cannot or she cannot function. Sad thing that's happening in our country, and it's a thing that I'm honored. In a way, I'm honored. It's not that it's pleasant. It's very bad for family. It's very bad for friends and businesses, but I'm honored to be involved in it because somebody has to do it, and I might as well keep going and be the one. But I'm very honored to be involved because we're fighting for our Constitution.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a wonderful day. And that, what you see here, guys, is Trump being immune, having presidential immunity. Yeah, that's right. And it's a pretty huge big deal. Now, I want some people to to really understand what this kind of means here, because it may not be a clear cut. Now, obviously, I think for more people that have been paying attention to the news or a bit more stronger into the law, they would probably know what it is. However, with other people that are not paying attention or not known, it is probably something that is new to you. So I'll try to break it down the best that I can. I'm not amazing on the law. I'm not incredible on the law. But from what I've gathered here, it's kind of self-explanatory. So we'll be going and reading over this together here. So we have this Trump immunity case. Supreme Court rules ex-presidents have substantial protection from prosecution. Says the Supreme Court ruled Monday in Trump v. United States that a former president has substantial immunity from prosecution for official acts committed while in office, but not for unofficial acts. In a 6-3 decision, the court sent the matter back down to a lower court as the justices did not apply the ruling to whether or not former President Trump is immune from prosecution regarding actions related to efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Now, essentially what this is, guys, is that it just pretty much means any time that Trump was in office, which was be 2016 to 2020, any action that he essentially did as a president, he's immune to. Doesn't mean when he's out of office or whatever that he is immune to such acts. So like if he goes and kills somebody, or if he goes and like, you know, assassinates or etc., he's not immune to that. All right, it's just when he's in office or in power is where he's immune to it. That's pretty much what that means, which would be unofficial acts. He's not in office. He's not being a president. He's unofficially a president, etc., etc. And pretty much another thing too is that the lower court is asking them or telling them to be like, okay, well, we're bringing it down to the lower court. You have to explain exactly what you mean by this. You need to go back and explain to us because this doesn't really fit the merits. This does not make any sense, and you really have to go in to explain what's going on here. That's pretty much the TLDR of what they're pretty much saying. Now we're going to go over a few things here as well about the situation. What Sotomayor, which is this crazy lady here, saying. I think that's what it is, and that is. That is kind of like what we want to go over with as well. So yeah, I just right click this plate. It might be the white one. No, it's this lady. It's this lady. So this is the lady that is going to be making a very crazy statement. So what we have here is that it goes on to say the president is not above the law, but Congress may not criminalize the president's conduct in carrying out the responsibilities of the executive branch under the Constitution. And the system of separated powers designed by the framers has always demanded an energetic, independent executive, he said. The president, therefore, may not be prosecuted for exercising his core constitutional powers, and he is entitled, at a minimum, to a presumptive immunity for prosecution for all his official acts. That immunity applies equally to all occupants of the Oval Office, regardless of politics, policy, or party, he continued. So, yeah, that is pretty much the gist of what's going on here. So, we will go over everything a little bit. But, of course, we have this. You guys have seen the full clip here of this saying the Supreme Court Rule 6-3, your favorite president, Donald Trump, is immune from criminal prosecution when it comes to constitutional powers. A huge win for not only me, but for future presidents who must have full presidential immunity. Goes on to say here as well, Danish D. Souza goes on to say, a huge win for Trump. He has absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for all official acts as president. Not immune for private conduct. Jack Smith's January 6th case against Trump is now in serious trouble. Yeah, they're going to have a very, very hard time of getting Trump on that at all, and it's pretty terrifying. The way the Supreme Court decision is written, it will be impossible to convict a president for anything they say or tweet. The Supreme Court is basically saying that speaking publicly on issues is an official act. It is the job of the president to have opinions on issues and speak about them. He can't be prosecuted later just because the other side disagrees with those opinions or positions. And it says, Trump's response to the verdict, I'm honored because we're fighting for our Constitution, which I may believe this is correct. And we're going to go into here now, because this is what it has to say about the whole situation. There's a federal grand jury indicted former President Donald J. Trump on 4 counts for conduct that occurred during his presidency following the November 2020 election. The indictment alleged that after losing that election, Trump conspired to overturn it by spreading knowingly false claims of election fraud to obstruct the collecting, accounting, and the certifying of the election results. Trump moved to dismiss the indictment based on presidential immunity, arguing that a president has absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for actions performed within the outer perimeter of his official responsibilities, and that the indictment's allegations fell within the core of his official duties. The district court denied Trump's motion to dismiss, holding the former president do not possess federal criminal immunity for any acts. The D.C. Circuit affirmed. Both the District Court and the D.C. Circuit declined to decide whether indicted conduct involved official acts. So pretty much what Jack Smith has to say is that, okay, you're going to have to prove during when Trump was president that nothing he was doing or saying was an official act. It had to be an unofficial act, which is going to be incredibly hard for him to do. He's going to have to rewrite the whole entire thing in that aspect here. And it says, held under our constitutional structure of separated powers, the nature of presidential power entitles a former president to absolute immunity for criminal prosecution for actions within his conclusive and pre-inclusive constitutional authority. And he is entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for all of his official acts. There is no immunity for unofficial acts. This case is the first criminal prosecution in our nation's history of a former president for actions taken during his presidency. Determining whether and under what circumstances charges of prosecution may proceed requires careful assessment of the scope of presidential power under the Constitution. The nature of that power requires that a former president has some immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts during his tenure in office, at least with respect to the president's exercise of his core constitutional powers. This immunity must be absolute. So, that is pretty much what they're saying here. So, when Trump is, or when any president, doesn't really matter if it's Trump or Biden or anybody, as long as you are president, you have immunity to much prosecution. That's the reason why you have impeachment, and then the impeachment goes down to where people go and where you you go to Congress and you can start doing indictments and charges and stuff like that. That's where the impeachment comes in. However, we have a bit more interesting stuff, so we're gonna go over here as well, and this kind of explains on Roberts' situation on this, right? So, let's see here. Yeah. So, whenever the president and vice president discuss their official responsibilities, they engage in official conduct, presiding over the January 6 certifications, proceeding at which members of Congress count the electoral votes is a constitutional and a statutory duty of the vice president. The indictment's allegations that Trump attempted to pressure the vice president to take particular acts in connection with his role at the certification proceeding does involve official conduct, and Trump is at least presumptively immune from prosecution for such conduct. So, yeah, this is what is going on here, and all that. It says the indictment also contains various allegations regarding Trump's conduct in connection with the events of January 6th itself. So, yeah, that is what we have here. And, again, I want everybody to start understanding this, right? What is going on. The ease poses a question of lasting significance. When may a former president be prosecuted for official acts taken during his presidency? And answering that question, unlike the political branches and the public at large, the court cannot afford to fixate exclusively or even primarily on present exigencies. Enduring separation of powers, principle guide our decision in this case. The president enjoys no immunity for his unofficial acts, and not everything the president does is official. The president is not above the law, but under our system of separated powers, the president may not be prosecuted for exercising his or her core constitutional powers, and he's entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for his official acts. That immunity applies equally to all occupants of the Oval Office. So yeah, and by the way, guys, why I don't like this above the law thing here, because we're going to be going over into the assassination part, right? And this is where this lady here, Sonia Sotomayor, this lunatic here, is saying this, right? She says this. Ordered Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power, immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon, immune. Immune. Let the president violate the law, let him exploit the trappings of his office for personal gain, let him use his official power for evil ends. Because if he knew that he may one day face liability for breaking the law, he may not be as bold and fearless as we would like him to be. That is the majority's message today. Even if these nightmare scenarios never play out, and I pray they never do, the damage has been done. The relationship between the president and the people who serves has shifted irrevocably, and in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law, which is completely insane, by the way. It's completely insane that this lady here is saying this, right? She's a nutcase. She's an actual nutcase. That's not what this is, alright? That's not what it is. And besides, even that was the case, lady, remember what we have here with the holder? We've drunk 4 Americans by accident? Well, guess what? It says, for all the effort that the Obama administration has gone into asserting that its drones only kill the people that the administration tends to kill, Holder wrote in a letter today to Senator Patrick Leahy that Samar Khan, 16-year-old Arunan Olaki, and June Kining Mohammed were not specifically targeted by the United States. The 4th American to die in a drone strike since 2009 was Abdurrahman's father, Azar Lalaki, a radical propagandist whom the U.S. killed in Yemen in 2011. So, yeah, Obama ended up bombing children, right? And he wasn't arrested. And what about any of the other prosecutions or any that should be brought to Joe Biden in this case? If for all the stuff that he's done, then that would also have to apply to them. Presidents have immunity for good reasons here. I don't think that Biden is a good guy, but we have to play by what the actual law is and why we have presidential immunity. So, again, this lady is bloody insane. He is not immune to these things. That's the reason why you do impeachments and stuff like that, and he goes to Congress, and then you do indictments, and then he'll be able to be arrested and put in jail. But that's not what this immunity means here, alright? This is the reason why the left is bloody insane, but this is a huge win for Trump. The January 6th case is pretty much flat out on its face. It will probably be 2-3+ years before they even can do anything, because they're going to rewrite the whole bloody thing, and they're going to bring it up to the lower courts, and then it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's going to have to read it, and that's just a long, long process. So that is dead in the water, and probably any other case that is actually being brought to Trump, because honestly, anything that these cases these people are bringing up has been when Trump was in office. So we're going to have to see on where that goes, but this is a huge win of Trump. The left, the Democrats are melting down. They're losing their minds, and we love to see it. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, guys, share. As always, take care, my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted. This is algorithmic disease, the social media.